Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for another Fake Nerds Watch. It's another marvelous Sunday. Well, it's Sunday, we're recording on a Sunday. Another marvelous Sunday, and we're here to talk about the first 2 episodes of Ms. Marvel on Disney+. The newest superhero in the MCU, a little younger than our usual Oscar Isaac, Robert Downey Jr. And let's see how we feel about this one. Y'all, just right off the bat, I'm so in love with the show, it's not even funny. I love the show so much. I just wanted to get right into it. I think everyone who's watched this show likes it. I don't think I've seen anyone who doesn't like the show, because you'd be wrong. But that's just my opinion. I got Brandon T. McClure, I got Ben Magnet, I got Sparkz. I think I didn't say my name. I'm Ryan Oleopoulos. But we're here to discuss the first 2 episodes of a pretty good show, I think. Do you agree with me, Benjamin Magneto?
I do. I think this is a really fun show. I love how the art direction is very different. I just love what the show does with colors. Pretty much. I love how it's shot. I love how the editing just makes everything just like super vibrant. And I really had a blast with the show. I didn't know how I was going to. I don't know much about Ms. Marvel, but I was really enjoying the show as I was watching it.
I love it. What about you, Mr. BT McClure?
I'm in agreement. I really do like the show. I'm tired of Marvel right now, specifically on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with their movies. The last movie they did ruled. It's Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. I love that movie. Their shows have been disappointing me for a long time, and in some capacity, not necessarily as a whole, but in like there's a trend that they go down that just ends up not being to the level of quality that I think a TV show should be, or especially a Marvel show should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that major reservation going into that show that I'm preventing myself from getting too in love with the show right now, but it's chipping away at that wall because it's hella charming.
I think I'm the opposite. I'm more that way with Star Wars because I feel like most of the Star Wars stuff, maybe besides Mandalorian, the last couple years.
I'm there too. Disney Plus in general has disappointed me as a television producing company.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I finally got Mr. Sparkz. Woody, how you feeling about the Marvelites?
Terrible. Just an awful show.
I figured you would hate this the most, if anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not up my alley whatsoever. No, I mean I like it. I think it's quite good. I don't have a lot that I think isn't working. To be honest, like I think the only weak point I could point out is it's not even fair, really, because it's only truly in a single episode. But the damage control thing isn't totally working for me right now. But we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Actually,
about damage control, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely the most interesting element because they're taking a more like villainous approach, but I think that's actually tied to the plot. We just don't have enough information yet, but we'll get into that later.
We saw that in No Way Home, right? Damage Control is the paramilitary group that was actively hunting Spider-Man.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
It's the same. Spider-Man. It's the same guy coming over from No Way Home. I'll get into it. Later, but we can talk about the first episode, Generation Y, first.
Yeah, man. The thing that I love about this show, it just feels like a TV show. The thing I first noticed was, it didn't immediately feel like a Marvel show. Like it felt like I was watching a show. I don't know where you watch young adult shows these days. I don't know, like a better CW or like a Disney Channel thing. But like, this is certainly a younger demographic than
very freeform.
Freeform, thank you, freeform. Yeah, it's definitely not a Moon Knight. It's not a a Mandalorian type thing. It's definitely for a younger audience. But man, the writing, the acting, the cinematography, especially the way it incorporates, like Ben said, color, and the way in a very much Scott Pilgrim turning red-esque brings animation into the real world when they're thinking and talking in a way, frankly, I haven't seen since those movies I just talked about, like Scott Pilgrim and Turning Red is the most recent example. Like I think the show looks flawless. Like I love, maybe besides the hard light stuff, but that's a completely different issue. I like if this were just a regular show, I would be into it. Like the superhero stuff is not really why I'm even here right now. It's because I love the characters and everyone and all their interpersonal connections.
I saw someone point out that if there was no superhero elements, this would still be a show I would tune in for every week. And I agree with that. I think that this show is helped by the fact that from the get, we are introduced to every character and they are all likable.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to continue to be with them. There's no building up of anything. It's just we get everyone is so well formed from the moment that it's really the most unique thing that Marvel has done, especially on Disney Plus.
It's got style.
It's got style up the ass, honestly. Like, I've never seen the MCU. We talked about this last night, Sparkz. Well, we watched a movie I've talked about in my week in the episode that we haven't recorded but already aired. Time. But like, there's a sense of like realism that we always strive for as far as like Hollywood goes, that we always strive for being like, we want things to be subtle and realistic because that's the only way audiences can buy something. And to see Marvel actually actually embrace something in a more stylistic endeavor and a more kind of exaggerated, I think is the word I'm looking for. It's a more exaggerated world than we've come to be used to in the MCU. And I think that's really great that Marvel allowed the show to have a personality outside of its standard, outside of the, I really hate using this argument, but outside of the MCU-ness.
Yeah. I think the thing that really helps is that our character is 16 and she's a teenager. All of these Marvel heroes obviously go through problems, but her being a teenager, it's like, oh my God, this girl doesn't like me. That's the end of the world. And it makes it feel like it's the end of the world because that's what teenagers go through. It feels so flawless, like, and so effortless. Like, I like all the characters. Like, I like all the side characters. Bruno's ridiculous. I like Nakia. I love the family, her ridiculous brother. It's such a compelling.
Oh man, her brother gets a great scene in the second episode.
Yeah, it's such a compelling, just like comedy drama that also slowly is working in more MCU stuff. And in a way, I was initially worried about, but the further we're going in, I'm like, oh shit, I think I know what they're doing, and I'm actually okay with it.
Well, it's kind of like how I felt about Spider-Man: Homecoming, right? Like, Spider-Man: Homecoming was the first time that it felt like a story lived inside of the MCU and wasn't just kind of building a lore of itself. This feels very much the same way. Now we've gotten... Also, this episode finally reveals who the hell told everyone what happened in the final battle of Endgame.
It's Kamala on her YouTube channel.
No, it's Scott in his podcast interview.
Yes, Scott in the podcast. Yeah, love that.
I want to talk about that for just a moment. Like,
go ahead.
The knowledge base now being given to, like, well, Scott Lang has a podcast. That's how everybody knows everything. And I'm like, that works to an extent.
Oh, I'm like, wasn't he interviewed on a podcast?
Documentaries and stuff, y'all. All those.
You have the documentaries specifically. Like, this is out there. The note that Kevin Feige said no to the people creating the show is that they wanted to reveal that drones recorded the battle at Endgame.
Yes. And
Feige said no. And I'm like, bro, come on, man. That would have solved every problem. Like, I get why everybody knows what Captain Marvel looks like, why people are a fan of her, why they know she punched Thanos and it was awesome. Like,
I really don't like this idea of, like, people don't know what happened in this battle. Y'all, how many world wars and, like, Korean wars and Vietnam wars do we know everything about? That was 50, 70, 80 years ago. We know everything about those wars because people were like, we find these things out. Like, my point
is not knowing, not the details, Ryan. My point is, like, intimately looking at Captain Marvel and admiring her as a hero and having seen her, and she has appeared so little to the public.
Sure.
That they have, like, this fascination, and like with Groot and Rocket, and how often do they see them? Pretty much never. And
those are the ones.
That's Groot, the visual where I'm like, come on.
Groot and Drax. I'll allow the Guardians. Yeah, people who have been on Earth a bunch. Like, I know it's like for me, they don't get. It's not enough, but for me, Captain Marvel does get a pass because she's been on Earth at least a couple times, even if it was in the '90s once. Like, for her, I'll get a pass.
For me. And I don't want to belay this point too much, but, like, for me, I think that the beginning of Miss Marvel explains a lot of the questions we've been having about how people intimately know exactly what happened at what point in the Endgame battle. There's been documentaries that's been documented. We've seen those in Far From Home. Scott had that podcast interview where he probably did a play-by-play. Captain Marvel was on Earth fairly frequently, is the implication, in the 5 years between Infinity War and Endgame.
Before she left.
Not necessarily as like a standard hero, but they're friends. So she was around. She was on Earth helping the remaining Avengers, and Rocket also, because Rocket, they all kind of formed this team, and we saw that in Endgame. They all kind of formed this like remaining Avengers team, and obviously they did their space stuff, but Rocket was probably helpful. The thing that I will concede on is it's very strange that so many people know about Groot, because he was blipped.
It was probably Rocket telling a lot of people.
Rocket telling people about Groot. Man, let me tell you, I had this tree friend.
But they obviously they visually know him, but they don't know him because they call him Mr. Tree.
Yeah.
So it's not like
true.
Rocket was telling them about him, because then they know his name. They just whatever.
Yeah, that's for me. It's not an issue whatsoever.
Or Quim and Thor, he's like, oh yes, my friend Tree. But once again, Thor went into a deep depression during the 5-year blip. So
what gets far more annoying to me is the public in the world of the MCU being treated like they're as intimately aware as we are, to the point where they buy T-shirts that say "That is America's ass," or things like that that are at Avengers Con, and I'm like, come on.
See, that one's just for the audience, and like I'll
interesting.
give you that one. Doesn't bother me though. Doesn't bother me.
It's not bothering me as much as we get further along. It's just kind of one of those things that I've realized I'm just going to have to accept. And I think that there's enough in context, in continuity explanations. The Americans ass one, I didn't even catch that. That is interesting.
Scott's the one who says America's ass, so maybe during the dumb podcast, he's like, and I'm the one, like I, because that was the one Scott.
And then
said,
I saw. Can you imagine? And then I saw Captain America in that old suit he did in Avengers, and I was like, man, that's America's ass.
I'm just saying, we're a podcast that has few viewers, and we have multiple T-shirts about our stuff. So I'm just saying, I'm sure one person got a really bad screenshot of a faraway view. I'm like, is that a tree? Like, of all the things to like nitpick about, I guess for me, this isn't something that I noticed at all.
Sparkz, you just want to say something?
No, I don't. No,
I
was merely making a point that of the thing that they talked about where they said they wanted to put the drones in. I'm like, oh, it would have been an excellent solution.
I just assumed because like we got satellites and shit, like it was already getting surveilled. Like we live in the future technology world.
I will only say I don't think it's a nitpick. I think it's just kind of where where Sparkz and I specifically, what we enjoy about the MCU is that we can kind of dig into these things as if it was the real world. It's why I'm so fascinated with the exact timeline of the MCU. It's why I dedicate so much time actually.
That's why I can't even.
And like that's fine. That's not as Sparkz likes to say to me, we're different people.
Yeah.
It like the thing of getting these kind of morsels and piecing them together, that's kind of the fun for especially me and Sparkz. That's the kind of thing that we enjoy so much about the MCU. It's why our conversations go on for so damn long. So I don't necessarily think it's a nitpick. I just think that as I didn't mean to say I said, it's just kind of things that it's just different things interest us in conversation. You know what I mean?
Yes, that is what a podcast is. Yes. Let's move on to Bruno. How do you guys feel about Bruno and his sad obsession with the girl that he's never gonna get?
We don't talk about Bruno.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We are gonna talk.
Sorry, that song was stuck in my head. I was playing.
No, it's went over my head, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I love Bruno. I think Bruno is great. I love his friendship with Kamala, and you can easily see that he has a thing for her, and then he instantly backs out when they're on the rooftop when he shows her the photon gloves. Also, I like how he's really chill with her family. I really enjoy that. Like when he comes in with the Zulu or the Zuzu, whatever it's called.
Zuzu.
Yeah, with the Zuzu.
One of my favorite tropes in this type of media is the white guy who's been adopted into the ethnic family.
Yeah.
I always think that's really fun, and I think they incorporate Bruno very well. I remember liking Bruno in the comic, but I don't quite remember his relationship with Kamala that much because it's been so very long since I read the comic.
It's the same.
Like I read it when it first came out, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bits is when Kamala and her mom come home and they're like, "Oh, Bruno, you guys stay for dinner?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I have to get going." And she's like, "Okay, cool." And she just instantly comes out with food all packed.
How'd you do this so fast?
That's my secret. That's my magic.
That was pretty good.
The thing, Bruno being adopted and him, I believe in the second episode, like going to like that like a festival and like, am I dressed properly? Do I look okay? Is it too much color? Like he wants the approval. Because like he loves that family, but clearly he loves Kamala. Or it's something that's developing in the first episode. Like they're best friends, but clearly there was a moment where like they give each other a look, and then Kamran comes around. That stud.
I really like Avengers Con as a concept. I imagined it bigger as they were talking about it. Like it's mostly like it's portrayed as like a Long Beach Comic Con, and it's not necessarily like a San Diego Comic Con, which I imagine it would be.
Yeah, I absolutely thought it was going to be San Diego Comic Con because like we go to Comic Con for fake heroes.
Yeah.
If the real heroes existed, I feel like that would take up like the convention center instead of like a kind of like a small room. But hey, maybe the first one.
I think probably like it's meant to. I think it's meant to invoke the first Comic Con, right? It's meant to like because they said like this is the first one ever, so it's like we're not getting celebrities yet. We're just kind of doing a fun thing, and then as it grows, then it will take over San Diego Comic Con. But I was still surprised when I was just like, I feel like this would have had more.
Makes you wonder if like people aren't as in love with superheroes as like Kamala is clearly. Like maybe it's like the same as like only nerds are into like the superheroes who save the world kind of thing.
It's like a World War II convention. What were you saying, Sparkz?
It's also during pandemic, so they might not have been able to scale it up the way they wanted it to.
And that's a good point.
That's a good point. Yeah. Pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic hurt a lot of things. And I think it works like for what they're doing. I want them to revisit Avengers Con in 4 years. Like whatever we're doing in the year 2027 in the MCU, I want them to go back to Avengers Con. Let's see how big that got.
Yeah, that's perfect because in a couple of years she'll be a superhero, so she can go back to Avengers Con as a hero and like I was here at the first one and now I'm in it. Like this is the best.
Yeah, and you can have. I think you can. If the MCU if I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole, but whatever. If the MCU really likes because we got the Christmas special and we got the Halloween special this year. They really want to. If they really want to have some fun, maybe next year after that, I don't care. I'll wait. They do a Comic-Con special where in universe they have an Avengers Con, and it airs around the same time as San Diego Comic-Con.
That's like something people go to.
Yeah, no. It's a special. It's a special episode that just happens to air around the time that San Diego Comic-Con is happening. And we can have some cameos because we're having some fun. Falcon's there, Ant-Man's there. Like we can. Sorry, Captain America's there, Ant-Man's there. We can do some fun with that, I think.
And then whoever is the most like lower of the cast is at like a table signing autographs for like $10. They don't want the Avengers.
Kingo.
Oh my god, he's signing autographs all day. Actually, it would be fun.
That'd be fun. I think that'd be fun.
Kingo Jr.
That was a fun callback to him in the second episode that I almost didn't catch.
Oh yeah, Kingo Jr. and Senior. Yeah.
Because they're talking about his movies. Because I forgot that he's a well-known Bollywood star.
Generational family star. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the show. One of the things I really like about it is how both episodes so far have been 50 minutes. And that has been such a godsend. I forgot how much I missed, full-length episodes.
Meat on the bone?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always a big proponent of like, take as long as you need to tell your story. If you need 30 minutes, if you need 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever, if that's what you need to tell the story. Just the MCU so far, the shows have felt very sparse. But the show for Miss Marvel, I haven't felt that way. Like, I really feel like we're getting strong character development, strong story beats. We are progressing in a way that feels natural. And I forgot which one of you said it, Sparkz or Ryan, but it feels like a TV show. Like, it feels like Ryan. Like, it feels like a proper TV show where an ABC happens and that affects the overarching plot as it moves forward, and it progresses our characters in a way, and it doesn't feel like the episode only exists to progress our characters in a way. It exists to tell a singular narrative in its own way.
Yeah, it doesn't have an agenda. Like, I don't see the agenda yet.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's Miss Marvel is the character they're putting into the world, but like it's not like, oh, and this is the next big thing. It's like, we're making a Miss Marvel show. and we'll go from there. And it just, again, like, it feels so effortless. Like, I watched the first episode twice, and I wish I watched the second one a second time, but I didn't. But I still remember so much of it, just because, like, again, it's so vibrant, it pops so much. This show has maybe the best example of how you text, or it's not the best, like one of the most unique and cool examples of how you text on screen, where they're walking down the street and the emojis are popping up on the street. They're popping up in signs in the shop that Bruno works at. They're in the sky. It's beautiful. When they're walking around the city talking about how she can be different types of heroes with Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. It's like, oh, I could be Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel. And you see a Captain Marvel's Doctor Strange flying in the background. I'm like, they are putting so much effort and care and quality into the show.
Yeah, I agree.
That's actually one of my favorite bits of the show, especially of the first episode when they're trying to talk about how to fix her costume and she's just throwing ideas. Because, I mean, just like them on a bicycle, it's kind of like, it's not a very interesting shot, but at the same time, your focal point is the murals on the background. You see all the crazy animation styles, all the different versions of Captain Marvel. And I was just watching this and I was pretty blown away. It was like, normally Marvel shows, I don't want to say they're tame, because we have that scene in Falcon Winter Soldier, but I feel like this is the first time where it's like they let their directors just go hog wild. It's like, hey, let's just have fun with this one. It's like, let's put a bunch of different images up on the wall. Let's just make this thing as colorful and as crazy as possible.
To your point, what I think I want to add to that is that it feels like, one of the reasons why I really liked Kamala, and one of the reasons why I think a lot of people really like her, is not necessarily that she's a nerd. It's that how she visualizes the world feels very real to the way, for example, I visualized the world when I was her age. When she's driving in the car and she's imagining Captain Marvel fly past her, like, I would do that all the time. I thought it was Godzilla, but like, I would constantly think, look, daydream outside the window and pretend I see my hero fly past or walk past. And it feels, and the way they visualize it feels very much, feels very much real to the emotion of those moments. And I think those murals are the same.
Yeah, and it helps that it's all like in her style, that like her art style that she's drawing that. It's always the same like look of like it's her drawing this from the imagination.
When she's doing the like, we're gonna do this to get to Avengers Con, we're gonna jump off the bridge. And she's wearing just the normal Captain Marvel uniform. I thought that was very cute.
Very like kind of Edgar Wright, where it's like, here's the plan and here's the thing, here's how it actually goes. Like, and we'll go to the Winchester and just have a pint. Not at all how it went. The opening of episode 1 with her little stop motion, like, that was gorgeous. That was so beautiful. I was like, oh my God, we're starting like this? Holy shit. It was like, and it looked like it was real stop motion shit they were doing with like little like cardboard people. It's like visually, like, I'm just like, I'm so well fed with the show, and we're only getting started. Like, we're only going to be getting more cosmic, which I guess is a good transition to Hard Light.
Yeah, Hard Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not okay.
It's not necessarily, real quickly, may I say, it's not necessarily that I dislike how it's being used in the show. I think they actually were able to figure out a way to make the show make sense with the power, and they're going in a very different direction, and they're making that direction make sense for their story, and it's not like it feels like it's shoehorned in.
Yeah,
like on a story way. You know what? I'm here for it. I like the direction they're going. They are actually trying something new and interesting. Fine. I don't see why you needed to, though. And like, that's more of just a behind the scenes thing of like, I still just don't agree with the behind the scenes decision to change her powers.
This is a good opportunity for you to jump in, Mr. Sparkles.
Well, why?
Just because you haven't talked in a while and we want to bring up Hard Light.
Okay. My issue with it, my biggest issue was like resolved by episode 2, so it didn't even matter, which is that I didn't like that it was going to be something that wasn't in her.
Yes, that's
where
no
longer a factor, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you for that. I agree. I initially was worried, but the second Bruno said it's not coming from the bagel, it's coming from you, I wasn't worried anymore because it's coming from her. I hate bringing up things that I've heard in the past, rumors, leaks, and stuff, but like, they brought they brought back Black Bolt. They wouldn't have done that if they didn't ever want to use an Inhuman ever again. They are slowly going to bring back Inhuman shit. How much Inhuman shit will be in the show is a mystery to me.
She seems to claim she is definitely not an Inhuman anymore. Iman Vellani said so.
Well, guess what? Marvel people lie all the time about stuff before things are finished.
I'm only saying much the same way that you're saying we can only talk about the information we have available.
Yeah.
You're right. They brought back Black Bolt, but also the information that we have available suggests that they are not making her an Inhuman. But that does not mean that that her power can't come from within her. She could just have latent abilities like a lot of people in the MCU.
Like, who has latent abilities that's not a mutant?
Well,
see, now there's not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they could still do it.
I'm just saying, like, I think this is a good opportunity, and Marvel is good at always repurposing things. If they weren't going to do anything Inhuman-like, they're not. I don't see how you make this character just have because her great grandmother was an alien. I don't think they're going to do that. Like, it's clearly she's got her genes from her great grandmother, who's probably an alien, an human something. She's not just a human. I know that. So like, she's going to turn into something. I think the hard light is a not a misdirect. I think it's Terrigenesis happening. I think it's a form of Terrigenesis because it's Terrigenesis crystals that she's manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one bracelet. When she has both bracelets, the Negabands, which Captain Marvel wears in the comics, gives her power. So I think once we get a second band, probably from the evil lady we saw in episode 2, I think we're going to start to see a lot more Terrigenesis shit happening. That's my thought process. Like, I'd definitely obviously be wrong, but like I trust Marvel. I trust Marvel on this one in a way that, like, even episode 1, I was like, it's a cool looking power, but like, I don't know if we need this. But the second Bruno said it's coming from within you, I'm like, okay, you have latent abilities that need to be activated, and this bracelet is one half of it. So I'm actually feeling very, very happy about the situation. And it's such a bummer because we took so long, crapping on it because like we didn't have the full context, which is fair. It's still a weird change. I still feel they didn't need to do this.
Yeah.
But if it's her dealing with family stuff in a similar way where Moon Knight focused on like Egyptian stuff, like if this wants to focus more on her culture and her as a person instead of like the Inhuman stuff, where that is kind of like she will turn into Inhuman, but it's more focusing on family and her great grandmother and the relationship between that, whose name is Lineage. In the comics, the villain's name is Lineage, and that's a great name to have your great grandmother be a villain called Lineage. You're fighting your own family. I think that's fantastic. I am very excited for the future of this. And if they let me down, that's going to be a bummer.
I mean, that is the value of the change, right? Is that it's tied to her wanting to investigate something her mom doesn't want her to, which creates more of the already existent rift going on between them.
Yeah.
Like more than anything in the family, it's the mom and her that are at odds.
Yeah. Because clearly the mom, she's a very no nonsense. She wants Kamala to succeed in America. She wants her to focus on her goals. It's always the worst thing being 16, 17 and having to like make your whole life decisions as a teenager. Like that's all of us. Like that's so shitty. They shouldn't expect that from anyone. Living in the clouds.
It's a really small moment, but like where they define that her mom is so fickle to the definition of whatever the people whose opinions she care about are, is the one where Kamala's trying on a dress and Kamala says that it's too big or it's not right for her.
She's too short.
And the mom disagrees. And then her friend comes in and says the same sentence. And her mom is like, you're right, that's too short for you, which is what, like, just totally ignoring her daughter, only cares about the opinions of the people she considers correct.
The Illuminantes.
The Illuminantes, yeah.
I love that so much. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, the episode 2 scene of like you got the Moss Bros, you got the Illuminatis, and you got the tech people, and I'm like, man, this is like, it's like it again. The thing I love when Marvel gets to do this is like, as a white dude, like I am not cultured in Indian culture or in like Egyptian culture or in Black culture as much, right? So like getting a viewpoint into there, and it being as authentic as this is. If you guys are online, like the representation is really good in the show. specifically there's like one Netflix show that apparently like people hate because of the way it treats Indian women and like hijabs and stuff like that. There's a great scene in episode 2 where Naki is like, I wear this because it represents me and it's who I want to be. And that is such a powerful thing to put in a $1 million Disney show.
That's a really good scene.
It's like,
well, because like as she leads up to it, you know, she's talking about like, I'm disliked for not being correct by both groups.
Yeah.
And wearing the hijab being her choice, taking some power, and still like being disrespected by some of the people who wanted her to do that to begin with.
What I quite liked about that scene is that actress has gotten a lot of flack because she was, well, people were claiming she was miscast in the role. And I appreciate that scene, whether it was written in response to or not, you know, talks about how, like, you know, people always
she has the sentence, too white for some people, too ethnic for others.
Yeah, you know, there is the sense that, you know, we saw it with America Chavez, like the colorism is at play, where America Chavez is darker in the comics and not as dark in the, and so like that was the case here in as far as Nakia's casting go. People were saying that she was.
I just want to slightly push back on the American one, because part of it is also, again, like, I'm not making
that distinction. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. With Nakia, she was just kind of. She had the same issue where people were saying, oh, she wasn't the right ethnicity, she wasn't dark enough, she wasn't whatever. And so like having the thing of like having that monologue be there, I think was very nice and unexpected.
Yeah, it is an interesting point, because like there is something to be said of like, why not just have the character who in the comics is darker and is Muslim, and now in here she's half white, half Turkish. The thing, like, again, this is not me as a white guy like saying this is like gospel or anything. Like, being on the internet and seeing the conversations between Muslims about this is like, no one person has the right on how you be a Muslim. Same way it's just like you have like being Jewish or being Christian. Like, taking off hijab is like death. Like, you should never do that. In other societies, like, it's not as bad. Like, it just depends on the person, how ingrained in the religion you are, right?
Just
like,
to kind of bring it to something that I can relate to. Moon Knight's Judaism, I felt was handled fine. In fact, in some places good. A lot of the Jewish community disagrees with me.
I will say this show is doing significantly more than Moon Knight even tried.
You're right. Yeah. But I can't speak on Muslim experiences. I can speak on a similar show that happened with a similar thing, which is what I'm relating to. I am dating someone who can speak to it, but I haven't talked to her about it yet. So we'll see.
Love it. Yeah. Just the constant not being afraid to just be in, like, these are Muslims. And they're Indian and they speak a different language, like it's Spanglish, like, you know, you're dropping words like in other languages like it's nothing, like, because that's natural to you and it feels natural.
Really appreciated the scene in the mosque. I thought that was again unexpected, because as you did say, Ryan, the Moon Knight's Judaism was not important to the writers of that show, and whether or not the greater Judaism, the Jewish community agrees with me, it doesn't quite matter, because what matters is my own experiences. But seeing that we got basically the equivalent of Oscar Isaac going to temple in this show, which I didn't expect to see, because the MCU, quite honestly, is religious allergic. They're allergic to any religious aspects, which is why everything is so sanitized.
Yeah.
But to see them not shy away from that, knows that they knew that, especially doing this, would be very important.
Yeah, and the directors, the showrunners for the show, they're doing Batgirl. So now I have the utmost faith in Batgirl. I cannot wait to see that. Now I got to go watch Bad Boys for Life, because they directed the newest Bad Boys movie, and I'm like, well, damn, they got such good style. I cannot wait. I love this. I love the style.
I just want to say, outside of Kamala, Nakia is my favorite character in the whole show. I know I've only seen her for 2 episodes, but her stuff in episode 2 was like what she's trying to. I love the scene with her and Kamala's dad.
Yes,
where that was like, oh, because after she was talking to the guy who does the gyros, the gyro vendor, and she's walking away from him, and she mutters on her breath, like, man, politics is so dirty. And then she's talking to Kamala's dad, and it's just like, Man, that was smooth. And he's just, I just love how his dad's or her dad's reaction, where he's just like holding the flyer and the pin is on his plate. And then his best friend, Rashid, who's also running to be on the mosque board, just looks over and is like, what are you doing, bro? And he's just standing there dumbfounded and is like, I literally just got served.
I think that is my favorite scene from episode 2. Nakia goes up to her dad and he's like, so like you're gonna vote for me, right? No, my best friend's running. Oh, so women's suffrage was for nothing? Women died for nothing? You want us not to have a future? Is that what you're telling me? Thanks
I'm like
for the
your
vote.
daughter to you.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. So devious in like in a fun way. I love it. She's so fun.
The parents get a lot of really good scenes. I think I really like. I don't want to say appreciate. I really like the scene where the mother says, "Okay, you can go to Avengers Con, but you have to go with your dad," and she breaks her dad's heart.
So there's like shitty things on both sides there, right? Because like you can go, but you can only go as the Hulk.
Yeah.
Right? Like you are locked out of going and representing what I know you're passionate about here. Because like and honestly, Captain Marvel's costume is not the most scandalous thing that it could be really compared to like it's the fact that it's tight, but like beyond that, like that's the extent of it. And even then, like Kamala's interpretation is not. But blocking her from going for like part of the reason that she cares about it is also like it's such a double-edged thing because it's the mom having made the costume very quickly and thoughtfully, but also saying like you have to go with your dad as the Hulk and you have to be Hulk Jr., which doesn't exist because you can't be anything else and go.
Because she interprets it as a party, like because she says this is a party. Because
right, like if there had been more compromise, if there had been a middle road option, right, I bet Kamala could have gone with her dad as the Hulk if she got to go as Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like you know that wouldn't have been as bad. But it's the fact that she gets locked into you can't go and appreciate the thing you are trying to go there to appreciate that makes it so shitty.
And the mom has like a preconceived notion, I guess, of what this thing is. Like you said, like Brandon, like she says, like, oh, so it's like a party at night, like with a bunch of boys. I'm like, it's a convention. Like she doesn't probably know what a convention is.
I really like when Kamala's trying to convince them about the convention that it's cool because she's like saying like it's for education, it's about history. Because it is right. Yeah, like it's appreciating history in a sense.
The history of the MCU is filled with superheroes, so it would be appreciating history. This is over 10 years now that this is just like I made the thing. It's like the Avengers Con is like a World War II convention, right?
Yeah,
because that's what these people are essentially. They're real life people that people are celebrating. It would be like if we went to a fireman convention or a police officer. That sounds awful. But like. But like, you know, people we admire in the real world, if they had conventions.
It was nice to see Black Widow get some respect.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Tony who died. Like, thank you for remembering a character everyone already forgot when a movie came out last year.
It was nice to hear the Star Spangled Man with the plan when they go into the convention.
I was surprised Steve wasn't on the board.
Yeah, because Tony people think he's dead. People think Steve's dead too.
Because Steve's supposedly dead as well. Yeah.
That's true.
And also, like, it's not a knock. I was just surprised.
Also, like in a similar vein, like no Captain Falcon at all, right? I didn't see anything from her before.
No, I didn't see.
I wonder if that's just shooting at a different time. You know, he wasn't. That they were probably shooting their thing or whatever. Like,
could have been. Yeah, sure. You're right though. I think that is it is one of those things where like, you know, we're getting to a point where I'm like, someone has to acknowledge that Anthony Mackie's Captain America at some point, right?
We'll have to wait.
Somebody's gotta like mention it.
We'll have to
show a picture of it.
We'll wait 6 months and then they'll give us a timeline of this actually takes place before Captain Falcon. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
If any, actually it doesn't. But you know,
I know, Brandon, but I'm saying they would do that.
It's if any show, what am I trying to say? If any show would acknowledge Captain America now, it would be Miss Marvel.
Yeah. Only this is, I think that's only like, that's not really a nitpick on this show. It's just this is more of an MCU external, right, perspective thing. But it is like, I do think it's a problem that they made a black character Captain America, and part of the whole thing is like people being unwilling to accept it, and that they're not making that like part of the subtext of what's going on. Like, are we going to pick up with him 2 years later and no one's talked about it in the interim?
It's like a secret or something.
Yeah. That I do feel like that has to be relevant, because in some ways, like for the public, right, if we're extrapolating all the MCU things we've watched in the past 2 years, then he's the most high profile hero that people are looking at right now, right? Like, no one's looking at what Shang-Chi's done, what Doctor Strange is doing. People are hardly thinking about Spider-Man anymore. So it's him, it's Sam, who should be at the forefront of people's minds as far as hero stuff.
I mean, yeah, and that also goes to like, well, you and I talked about quite often, Sparkz, which is what is the state of the Avengers at this point. It's heavily implied that there is no Avengers at this moment, but like, you know, we're it's just, I don't want to go down there. Iman is great. I think she's fantastic in this role.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm just looking up shooting schedules to see when shit was shot and if they were shot similar times, and it looks like they were shot around the similar time.
Yeah.
So that honestly might just be the reason, because he wasn't Captain America yet.
She was while she was filming, she was watching WandaVision as it was airing, because this was filming at the time that WandaVision was airing.
Yeah, okay.
Iman is great. She's wonderful in this role. I really like this actress. Iman Vellani, yeah, she's wonderful. Born to play this role. She's so charming. I really love her, and I can't wait to see her for like a decade.
Yeah, it is one of the cool things, and also like one of like the weird, like, this is going to be you for the next 15 years, which is like a blessing and a curse, I guess, like a Spider-Man thing. But like, yeah, she is so fun to watch. Like, again, if she were the star of another show, like after this, I would watch her just be on a normal show, because like she is so fun. She's got that energy on lock. And also, like, I don't need or expect or even want the MCU stars to be such big MCU fans. Like, I don't need that synergy like that. It is really cool to have the character who is a superhero's fan be that actor. It is really cool that the synergy for this character is so good.
I think if you were to make any character that kind of should be part of who the actor is, it's this one.
Yeah.
Her literally being a person who grew up with the MCU transferring to Miss Marvel, who grows up with these heroes, is a really good thing to have.
Absolutely.
I think that does help a lot. And not necessarily that like her performance would be weaker without it, but like this already means so much more anyway. There's so much to play with and engage with anyway. And I think that helps a lot.
I just looked it up. The showrunners for this, the lead producer, this is her first like show that she's been the lead for. And I think this is probably a case of this being maybe the best example of Marvel doing that, and that working out. Because I've criticized their decision to hire just a staff writer on CSI Miami to headline their big shows, and I don't think it always works. And I think this one worked out very well.
Yeah, and I think it helps that it is just kind of like a regular show that is incorporating MCU stuff, as opposed to being, I know it sounds weird, as opposed to being something that is so MCU tied, like something that like I don't know if that explains.
Well, we had that with Moon Knight, though. You know, like I think what's different here is that from the jump, you feel like there's a clear creative vision that doesn't feel like it's being watered down. And I don't think we've had that on the Disney Plus shows. I don't think we've had that at all on any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows.
I agree with that.
It's this one that's like, from the jump, we know what we're doing. We're taking you on a story.
And take you for a ride.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. When it comes to Moon Knight, like if it did feel like they had to play within the rules of the MCU, and they didn't have the ability. Let's say
you can't convince me that the Egyptian god stuff wouldn't have been wilder if they were just like let loose.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a version of that story that benefit from this, and this is kind of this Miss Marvel is another thing in the line of like, you know, not Disney, Marvel succeeds when they let their creatives be creative, when they do what they want. James Gunn, Taika Waititi, oh man,
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi, thank you. I went through every Sam actor and director I knew. Sam Raimi, kind of let them do what you hire them for. And this is another one of those things where it's like, how many times are we going to get things like this slipping through the cracks before you realize that this is what you should always be doing?
Well, and I think that's interesting. I'm kind of glad that Ryan brought up the shooting schedule stuff, right? Because it does paint a picture of us of WandaVision was coming out when this was filming. Mm-hmm. So we're now we're getting into the age of they've made some things. Maybe our trajectory might be a little smoother going forward. Yeah. Maybe there might be a little more clear of like what didn't work, what does work on Disney Plus. This means that we're now at the we're in a sense, I don't want to like, we're at the end of phase 1 of filming Disney Plus shows, right? Yeah. Now everything going forward has had some lessons learned. So maybe now more of this is they're going to see more of this speaking to it.
It certainly helps me. It certainly helps me feel more interested in She-Hulk, bouncing off of this to that, because now I feel like perhaps maybe we'll see a similar trajectory with She-Hulk.
Right.
That's the hope anyway. I also just want to say that, like, and we've already talked about it, but the use of color in the show is very refreshing. I understand why the MCU tones down their color palette. It's because they're hiding the imperfections in the CGI, which is due to their shooting schedule and the visual effects artist schedule. And I get it, and I understand it, and I'm fine with it for the most part. But it is very nice and refreshing to see an MCU film not have to do that and able to actually show what the real world looks like.
Yeah. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Like its vibrancy in its personality and its color pattern and its characters is really encouraging for this show, for She-Hulk, for the future of MCU projects, especially the smaller ones. This is a much needed breath of fresh air.
I just realized I could have had a much better opening for this, because the opening of episode 2 has the songs "Bad, Bad, Bad, Bad Boys."
There's great music. Both the pop songs that they pick and the score for the show is quite good.
Yeah,
I really like it.
The little her sing song after her date with Kamran, she comes home and sings in her house. Like, I definitely felt like that before. Like, so relatable, so cute. Like, her parents are dancing in the background. Like, I love that. Like, that ethereal, like, turns into a dream shit. I love that.
Some stuff from episode 1, because I feel like we're gonna go into episode 2 stuff pretty hard. The family dynamic stuff I think is really great. We touched on a lot of that. Zoe is a interesting character. I'm glad that she's not a bully per se, just like privileged.
Yeah.
I really like when that hammer comes down and hits her. I really thought she was gonna save her. The fact that she just rolls to the side.
It feels so much
that hammer just whacked the shit out of her.
I feel like that woman should have died. But like,
that was wild. I really thought as it was coming in, I'm like, she's gonna grab her, she's gonna save her. This is gonna be a big moment. Nope, she just took that thing right to the face.
Smacked by a hammer. She holds on, and then she like almost falls.
I think you guys highlighted the tech stuff. I really do love it. I think using like neon signs and street stuff and the nightlight, I think all that looks so good. My favorite thing for Bruno, I think one of my favorite moments for him is him not being upset really about the gloves that he built her being left in the bathroom. Just like still supporting her anyway. And telling her to get up there. Yeah.
I really like the relationship.
I really like when she initially puts on the bracelet, the bangle. and she gets transported to.
Yeah, she like the camera like moves her like she goes upside down around back.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated what that means.
I am not saying they're connected at all.
Yeah.
It just visually reminded me of the opening of Black Panther.
Astral plane stuff. No, you're not the first person to say that. No,
yeah. I don't think they're the same, but it was a visually kind of intriguing.
Here's the thing, though. Remember Moon Knight, though? It could be something similar but different.
Yes. Yeah.
Intersecting planes.
I really like the there's a thing in episode 2 when she starts to hallucinate because the bangle is someone in the bangle is trying to communicate with her. I think that's a good scene.
Oh, you think it's someone in the bangle?
No, sorry. Something in the bangle. Something is trying to communicate with her through the bangle.
Yeah.
People are speculating, and it's a fair speculation, but I don't think it's necessarily the case. But if you remember Shang-Chi and the 10 rings turned out to have some cosmic thing, and they were sending a signal or something, and so people are thinking that they're connected. I don't think they're connected. I think it's just a similar, unfortunate jewelry from space deal that we're dealing with.
I'm still not entirely convinced this isn't mystically inspired. There was a rumor going around that her bangle came from a djinn of quite a while ago that was supposedly a leak. So I'm not entirely convinced that what's happening isn't that she is being spoken through, like the bangle, her great grandmother, right, is the one that this came from. Her great grandmother is trying to communicate with her from the beyond through the bangle. Because I still think specifically relating that to the 10 rings, I think the 10 rings are communicating to Fin Fang Foom. I really think that's what's happening there. And I think the 10 rings are science fiction, and this is mystical. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling right now.
Oh no, I'm with you. Just people are putting connections together because that's the most recent thing that's similar. There's people are just trying to put things together.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you think it's the great grandmother trying to contact her?
That's who I think that is. That we see.
I thought that too because of the train thing, but then when we see the face and then it's the lady in the car, I'm like, is that her great grandmother?
Yes,
in the car.
Could be.
It is. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Well, but like we don't know for sure, right? Is that like because is she someone able to connect to it who has been reaching out to her? Because the only thing that makes me think she's a great grandmother is because the first time we see the silhouette is the train, but the silhouette also doesn't mean that's the same lady. Right, like she could have been seeing the great grandmother, and the second time it's this lady using that to call out to her. So I'm like, I don't know. It could go either way. It
absolutely could. Going from the comics, I think they're just doing what they're doing from the comics.
I mean, that's probably true, but I'm just saying, like, I'm like,
they could flip flop it. The thing that I'm most curious about is we are introduced to this great grandmother character in Kamran, who now turns out to be like he was working Kamala to get her to this lady, right?
Yeah.
This could be a misdirect of a villain.
Yes,
like she could have ulterior motives and like need Kamala's bracelet or want to do something, but it might be. Because if you remember the great grandmother, the way that the family talks about her, she was like shunned and like people don't respect her, and like she lived like a crazy life and she maybe murdered a guy, which I think are all true. All those things are true, I believe, what the Illuminatis were saying. I think that's all true.
Right.
But
they don't understand.
But they don't understand that she was hiding, whether she was an alien or like a djinn or something,
or that she might have been protecting her family or protecting someone else.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was a superhero.
Because now the damage control stuff I'm interested in. People think they're Skrulls. I can't buy that yet.
Oh, I believe that other lady is a Skrull.
Oh, evil lady from Orange is the New Black.
She's so shitty.
Yeah, she is.
Wait, so that was one of my things. Is like, just it was almost too hammy for me when she's like, did they have an accent? And like there was a little too much like, really like nudging the audience to get like, this is not okay that she's saying this, and I'm like, all right, this feels a little over the top. I like the guy from No Way Home. I like him pulling the same tricks on Zoe that he pulled on Ned. I love guys in the chair. I got guys in the chairs everywhere. It's like, oh yeah, we all buy the popcorn off your video.
I love your popcorn recipe. Popcorn. Yeah. So you're a bad guy, right? I love the instant switch. That guy's from Succession. He's so good. I hope he shows up more. I love him. He's so snivelly. I love him.
You know, What's interesting is that I believe this is the first time that damage control has been outside of a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yes,
they've appeared
it
in the MCU outside of Spider-Man: Homecoming and No Way Home.
And I do
Yeah.
think because damage control has took a very different approach than what they used to. They used to be, we fix shit after superheroes break it. Now they're kind of taking a more direct, like an FBI approach almost. Which is, I think,
they're taking the Sokovia Accords very seriously.
They do. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. Because people are bringing up something from the Champions run. There's something called Kamala's Law, which outlaws superheroes under the age of 21, which is kind of like a little Civil War thing.
Yeah.
I could see Damage Control doing that, actually, in the show. With the way they're setting up Kamala, and they're trying to bring in this girl. Why would they bring in this girl like she's a villain? That seems really odd. So I think they're probably bad guys under the guise of good guys.
They got all the young
Skrulls.
superheroes coming in. So yeah, I could see it.
Well, you're right. It's because we talked about in No Way Home that damage control was very evil. The Green Goblin attacked the Thing, and they were like, "Okay, Spider-Man, we're going to shoot you."
Your mom figure just died, but hey man, we're gonna hit you with bullets.
We're gonna her body,
and we know that you're a 16-year-old kid, but we're going. Sorry, 18 at that point. But we're going to shoot you. We've got machine guns. You're dead now. I'm so sorry.
It's
they're very evil, and if this is kind of explaining why, that'd be fun.
Yeah, it's not a question I need answered in this show necessarily, but I certainly would like an understanding of when damage control was formed, who formed it. Not damage control originally. We know where that came from in Homecoming. I'm talking this feels different. This doesn't, even if this is evolved, this doesn't feel like what Stark was running. Someone else has taken this in a different direction. How are they getting their funding? Where are the resources coming from? Because you would think this would be in conjunction with Sword at this point.
Yes.
But it's not.
Here's
or at least
thing.
We don't think it is.
Here's the thing, though. That guy, Clary, his name's Agent Clary, he knows Nick Fury's in space because he says it in the last movie.
You're right.
So they have to have some kind of junction. Here's the thing. I think the blip happened and a bunch of people left and other people took control and some of those people are Skrulls. I think that's what happened.
Yeah. I do think damage control is prime for part of the Secret Invasion plot. Pretty majorly.
Because for Secret Invasion, talking about another show that's not coming for a while, for Secret Invasion to work, you need to have people in places of power to flip a switch and okay, now we're in control and we're gonna help take over the world. Damage control is a very good company to be in charge of.
I wonder if not necessarily everyone in damage control, but if you've got Skrulls in damage control, they want all the enhanced, especially the young new ones, they want them all monitored or captured so that they know where they are, so that they don't have to worry about them when they do what they do.
Also, because Skrulls create super Skrulls and they steal the powers of other heroes. Yeah. That's what Secret Invasion was. They all had powers of the heroes. So I wouldn't be not in this show, but I can definitely see a trajectory of they're trying to capture heroes to take their powers too.
Sure. I do think there needs to be some exploration of damage control. Again, I don't want it in the show. Flat out, I don't. Little nuggets are nice, but I don't want the explanation here because I don't want this show to be about that. I want it to be about her.
I agree.
But there is an amount of especially that lady that walks in, I'm you're too much.
Very good at being that
the way you're enjoying saying I'm not supposed to say that anymore, am I? I'm supposed to say Latin X, and I'm Jesus Christ.
I will say I do like the one real world reference of oh, the FBI are already monitoring the mosques. I'm that's too real. That one's I actually like.
I was surprised they said it.
Too real.
Yeah, I was surprised they said it.
Again, this is the show that I'm surprised. Go ahead,
this is the kind of thing when Kevin Feige said there are things in Moon Knight that we went so hard on that I was wow, can we do this? And I was yeah, this is the kind of thing, going back to what Sparkz said, that Kevin Feige clearly wants to keep pushing the envelope, but someone is pushing back.
Right.
Yeah. And it feels like this is the one where he finally was able to get some leeway.
Yeah.
Even I would say Doctor Strange too. I wish it happened in a show, but luckily after Moon Knight we got Doctor Strange, which is the most hardcore Marvel movie ever made. Hands down. People getting their brains exploded in that one.
Yeah.
But it's that line. Well, the FBI is already monitoring the mosque. That to make a fall guy, perhaps it's Chapek, but it's something that Chapek would be you can't say that. Actually, we have money in the FBI.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I thought it was great that they said that. I also I thought I took it to have double meaning because like obviously it's our real world connotations, but like if I'm looking at MCU connotations, maybe damage control doesn't want to be on the FBI's radar. They don't want the FBI looking into what they're doing or when they're doing it. So I think it can play both angles, but like there is no mistaking why the line is there for the context of us as an audience. But I do also think there's a double angle you can play of damage control wanting to keep the FBI out of their affairs.
That's actually,
I will say, just keeping on the damage control thing, it's just a staging thing. This happens in anything, and like it's fine. But it is a little goofy to me when Kamala gets over the van at the end and gets into the car with Kamran, and then the damage control people come around the car a little bit later and they just don't know what happened. How did she disappear? And I'm like, you didn't see a car speed up on the other side of the street and leave?
Yeah, speed racer running
like
by.
I get it, but like you could at least like have them looking in the direction of where the car went, like damn, got away, instead of just like, what happened?
They got bamboozled. I agree with you there, absolutely. I do love that, like the second that car comes around, I'm like, how did he know she was here? Immediately I knew it was bad. I knew it was Kamran. I immediately knew.
Well, social media, right? Social media stuff. Because everyone was posting about her doing
her saving the kid.
Because everybody's putting it up and hearting it and everything, and so like it was going around, and so if he was keeping an eye out for that in particular, then he could have been he already might have been lurking around, to be honest. He was probably going to like, this doesn't look like this wasn't going to happen soon either way. It just happened to work out that like, I'm going to nab her now because she's in trouble.
I must have missed that for some reason. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's cool. Good point. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job of that. The everybody like reacting to her on the social media when she's getting up to save the kid. I thought that was pretty cool.
The shoe thief. The shoe thief.
The shoe thief.
It was him. It was the little kid who was stealing the shoes. He was wearing knocked shoes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good full, it's good storytelling.
Wearing Louis Vuitton girl shoes.
That's funny.
I like that there's a good struggle. I like of Kamala trying to master these powers and wanting to do the right thing but not being great at it. Especially that, like she saves the kid, but it's rough, like the dropping them down, just trying to catch him as best as possible. I thought that was a good, for what they have done with these powers, a good visualization of it.
Oh, I like the montage a lot of them training with powers.
Training montage is great. Yeah.
Love it. I always love the bit where they're like, you gotta let me go, and she's just like a foot off the ground.
Yeah.
I always die at that gag. That's a surefire winner for me.
Yeah. That's it's good. It's good.
I have only one last note, which is that I really like the scene with Kamran meeting the brother.
Yeah.
I think that's the scene. I think that scene's very funny.
It is funny.
I think when he's like, oh, so why do you have a British accent? Oh, it's because I'm practicing, and he goes into a Pakistani accent. I thought that was all super charming, and just the dialogue scenes really shine in this show.
I thought that was really good. I really like the it does feel a little lore dumpy just because of its placement, but I did like the scene where Kamala's dad tells the story of her great grandmother and the escape during partition, and I thought that was really good, and it's there, and I liked that we held on shots of the mom not being happy about hearing the story to an extent, like she has complicated feelings about it. I thought all that was really nice and well placed, and that triggers Kamala hearing the train and seeing the silhouette, but I just thought that was a powerful story. I thought that was well placed.
Much like, this is obviously very different shows, but in teaching me things that I didn't know about, much like how Watchmen taught me about the Tulsa Massacre, I wasn't aware about much of the partition and really what was going, like, because like the British colonization of India, and like during the 30s and 40s, like they massacred Indian people, taking over India. And like just like showing that it was a real thing, having a family talk about it made me Google it and go, oh shit, this is something that like millions of people deal with, like are still dealing with, like their families dealt with it. I'm like, I'm just so pleased that like it's not a big deal. That you can talk about your past, right? But when you're making $1 million shows, you can't be political in a way, right? In any capacity. So the fact that this show can go in so many different directions and just be honest about the world and the people that live in it, I'm so thankful more than anything that it's just a show about Muslim characters, and it's allowed to be that. It's not like hitting you over the head or anything.
They definitely have an advantage of putting it in the show because it's about the British being bad and not Americans being bad. So thank God for that one, right? We can tell that story.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do that one. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's not necessarily that you can't put politics in these type of shows. You can. You're just oftentimes too afraid to. Specifically, Disney is.
Yes.
And that's becoming an issue the longer it goes on. It becomes a bigger issue the longer it goes on. And it's nice when something like this can, I'm going to use the term slip through the cracks, even though I'm sure that they knew exactly what they were doing. But like, it's nice when a show like this comes along and really shows them that like, you can do this. You don't need to be scared of this anymore. You shouldn't have it in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, and like part of it isn't so much as putting politics necessarily in a thing, but like taking a stance.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're framing it, and the thing is, like, I think they're more willing to be bold on Miss Marvel because they know anyone who's watching the show is already going to be in favor of the thing it would be taking a stance on. And anyone who's not watching the show wouldn't be a fan of it anyway. So it doesn't matter because you're not trying to get them to agree with that standpoint. Right. Like anybody who would be turned off from the Miss Marvel just because of who's in the show isn't going to give a shit if you took the stance on it or not. Yeah. So you're able to like stand by those politics. And so like you have that more like, yeah, I mean, we could do it here because absolutely like anybody who would like outright disagree with this on a face value wouldn't be watching the show anyway.
But this also goes back to what you were saying about with Moon Knight, where it's like we were talking about Daredevil, the TV series.
Sure.
When you're talking about like it's clear that Feige keeps wanting to do more, but he's getting a lot of pushback from someone. Yes. Otherwise, Feige wouldn't be out there saying things that are just somehow not true.
Right.
And so like when it gets to the point where you got to think that maybe there's something more. And so him, like you said, Sparkz, he has to keep continually prove that the audience will continue to be there, that they will not lose an audience the harder that they push. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that push happen actively with Miss Marvel.
Right. Yeah.
At least so far.
No, it's true. It's true. It's very much a, getting progressive with our representation and politics on the MCU shows in particular is a 1 step forward, 2 steps back thing.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how it's going to be because Disney's too big of a company for it not to go that slow. Yeah. There's a lot of examples like Lightyear. Brandon, you and I talked about this and I'm sure we'll mention it again on our podcast episode where we talked about Lightyear. The kiss, the same sex representation in Lightyear is another example of just like that 1 step forward, that 1 notch forward, even if we're moving 2 steps back in other places.
Yeah,
and it's just always gonna be that way for a while. But I do think the show is taking. This is a big 1 step, right?
Yeah,
it's a big 1 step, which I think is really great because, like, in one episode we have Nakia talking about being too white for some people and too ethnic for others. We have her talking about offering Kamala tampons and pads because her mom is too weird about tampons. We have the discussion about partition. We have the representation of them going to the mosque. All of these things are in a single episode. That's really great. We didn't even touch on like the really nice like Nakia subplot of her running in a place where like people don't want her to. You did touch on a little with how she's like being devious towards the dad to get him to vote for her, but like the way that like comes about from the start of the episode and how it unfolds, I think is really good.
Yeah, and there's even like play at sexism because how the mosques are separated. Yes. The male section is much nicer than the women's section.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, these are, again, like, I've never been in a mosque, so, like, I just assume it's a church. Looks like a church. No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like a boring church. It looks much nicer than a church does. But, like, I just love that, the show keeps, like...
Churches have seats, at least.
Huh?
Churches have seats, at least.
That's a great little point, Brandon, because it's rare, right, that you get representation of something that's happening, and because it's so... I'm going to try and form this correctly. So because it's so rare to get like a direct representation of something like that, usually when you get it, everyone who's there is in favor of the thing wholeheartedly without criticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here we have that they are going to mosque, they do care about it, they're part of it, but they also recognize that there are issues within it itself of misogyny. And you don't usually get that complex criticism from within it at the same time that you're getting the representation of it.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I love seeing like teenage girls like taking selfies like in a mosque. Like it's like kids are gonna be kids, right? Like it's like it feels real. It feels like really natural.
Yeah, it did.
Ben, you got anything to say?
No, you guys pretty much hit it on the head. What I was gonna say is I actually really like how Kamala's hard light powers look. Like I just like how it looks because you know how she's like all cosmic. She's a huge Captain Marvel fan. She wants all this stuff to be cosmic, and the hard light does look cosmic in a way. And I'm really excited to look to continue forward with the show to see how her powers grow, to see how just like the whole bangle thing, like what she's looking at. Because I also thought that when she first put it on and she went into the pseudo astral plane or ancestral plane, I was like, man, that looks a lot like Black Panthers. What's going on here? And like when she's like after she saves the kid and he like takes her hand or puts his hand out and she gets the flashback of the woman we see in the car. I'm like, man, I want to know what's going on here.
I do appreciate the bone that they're throwing us when we see her hard light powers become a giant hand.
Yeah.
To appreciate that bone.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I do have a feeling those things, I don't know what the final product will be, but I firmly believe that they are going to give us something more closer to the comic than anticipated. Like I think we all assumed it was just going to be hard light. Now we know it comes from within her. I think by the end it's going to incorporate that together in a way where she won't be Mr. Fantastic, but she'll be closer to Miss Marvel than right now.
I think you're probably right. There's an amount where like clearly they respect the character and the comic origins, so I don't think that they're going to want to slight it entirely in that regard. One of my favorite uses of hard light, to be honest with you, is blushing in the nose. When she's having feelings for Kamran and she can't make it go away in her nose. I thought that was a really nice touch of the use of it and something unique to it, but that added a lot to what they were doing in the story.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was saying of like, you know, it feels like I think they incorporated. I think they didn't build a Miss Marvel story and then decide to change her powers. They decided to change her powers, then built a Miss Marvel story. And that made all the difference.
I also want to I think the mom is written really well. Her hypocrisy is clear. Her care for Kamala is also clear. And her issues and fears are present. But one of my favorite things is that, you know, at the end of episode 1, she catches Kamala sneaking back in. And in the second episode, it's not like that's a huge punishment put down on Kamala. She's even willing to let her go to the party. Like, this isn't something where she just hard lines, like, gets upset with her. It comes from more of a place of reasonable concern, which is just rare. You don't usually get that as the response in parents and media. And it really does feel like you are more worried that your daughter felt that she had to sneak out than you are worried that she did it.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Right. And like, she's recognizing that like, it feels on some level that she understands that there is some kind of dissonance there that is making it so that Kamala would feel like she had to do that. And that needs to be worked on. Then that's not necessarily Kamala being a bad daughter.
No.
Yeah. And I'm just glad because usually it's far more simplistic than that.
Yeah, it feels again. It feels real. It feels like a real thing. Like I would sneak out at night, except no one would catch me because I'm a baller.
Yeah, the mom is not like harsh to Kamala in the next episode. She's not refusing to let her go to the party or see her friends or like being rude to her or anything. You know, she just like makes that comment like, go to the party, come back at this time through the front door.
And she's doing this because like she knows where this path leads. She's seen it with whether that's her mom or great grandmother. Like she knows this is a bad path of like being someone who lives in fantasy. And like we live in the real world despite living in a world of extreme circumstance, you know, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But to the mom, that's just a 16-year-old girl. And like she has to protect her at all costs in this world where an Eternal can show up literally any second.
Right.
and it's just it's just so believable. And
in
like
a world
realistic.
where a celestial is actually in the ocean right now.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's a great point. Something I kind of hope that like I'm sure we're going to get out of Miss Marvel is like that amount of like, how do you protect your child, especially if your child develops powers in a world full of super people? How do you do that? And I think that's going to be really, really nice to see. Yeah, I really like her. I think she's brought to life very well. It's actually one of my favorite jokes in the 2 episodes was where she said to the dad, if it wasn't for slippery, said to the brother, if it wasn't for slippery when wet, your father and I might not have ever met. And the brother's just like, that was gross.
Bon Jovi, Bon Jovi is the king of New Jersey.
Yes.
And there is no New Jersey show that does not reference Bon Jovi. It is so funny.
Yeah.
The hold that man has on that place. It's so funny.
You got to. Bon Jovi is New Jersey.
I thought Bruce Springsteen had a hold on New Jersey, but I didn't know Bon Jovi did. I had too. So.
Oh yeah, he's the guy. Yeah, that was a really sweet moment because like, you know, she is kind of like she seems like a strict parent. She's like, when I was young, I got wild too. We went to a Bon Jovi concert, baby. That's how I met your dad. Blah. Like, yeah, that's so gross.
That's why I was gonna say, like, when you were bringing up, like, she's also thinking of like what she did, and like as every parent does, like the things that the situations they got into that they regret, and they're like, I don't want you to be there.
Yeah. It's wholesome. Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Love the show. Can't wait for more. This is gonna sound weird. This is kind of like what I wish Spider-Man felt like. As much as I like those movies, like the young, like you get that with Ned in like the high school stuff, but like I just feel it's so much more like present, like being a teenager in this world.
I think Homecoming felt like this.
Okay,
I won't say that as much about the second and third.
Yeah.
But I do think Homecoming felt like this.
Yeah, I'll give you Homecoming. Sure. Yeah. It's just nice to have a young show feel youthful. That's what that's what I want.
Yeah.
Alrighty. If there's nothing else, why don't we Sparkz?
No, I don't.
You're saying yes. I thought you were about to say something. All right. Okay, so that'll do it. We're doing Miss Marvel every 2 episodes, so the next one will be after episode 4, so stay tuned for that. Upcoming, we have Obi-Wan. The last 2 episodes of Obi-Wan are here. Sparkz, you will not be joining us for that episode because you will be out of town, correct?
I guess we'll talk about this off air, but I thought we found a workaround for that.
I thought we did.
Well, right, we were going to record it Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so never mind. Forget I said that. Yes. That's that. Tons of Fake Nerds watches are on this channel. If you want to like this video and you want to subscribe to this channel, you can check out more. We referenced Moon Knight. There's plenty of discussion on Moon Knight. We did that show. We've done all the Marvel shows up until this point. We have Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds is a show that I do with Just a Little Podcast. The Boys. Obi-Wan, I said Obi-Wan. Stranger Things, that's the one I was looking for. Stranger Things, at the first part, that's up too. So stay tuned for even more and check out some of our back catalog if you haven't already. Check out Basement Arcade Pause Menu, Animation Station, and Fake Nerd Book Club. All shows you can find on this channel, all catering to different things, whatever suits your fancy. Once again, like this video and subscribe to this channel. We have a Patreon, we have a TeePublic if you want to support us financially. We greatly appreciate it. You can find all the links to everywhere down below, or on our website at fakenerdpodcast.com, Fake Nerd Podcast, and all the social medias, fakenerdguys@gmail.com. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for Screen Rant, Atomic Geekdom, where I just put up a new revisiting the Infinity Saga about Stan Lee. That's up now. And I edit KaijuRamaMedia.com. Ben?
You can find me on the internet at BenMagnet27 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, and GoNintendo.com.
Sparkz?
You can find me listening to Big Me, Little Me at Sparkz Witty on Instagram, Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Ryan?
Hey everyone, I'm DJ Tony Snark 616 all over the internet, also live on Twitch sometimes.
There you go. All right, guys. Until next time you see us. Yeah, that's right. That's the end of it. Until next time you see us, guys, stay fake nerds. Oops, this is the wrong show.
Doing it anyway.